So when we're asked to find the exact value of these expressions, we are not going to plug this into the calculator, but we're going to take the answers from the unit circle and get a really non-satisfying but mathematically correct answer. Okay, so the first one, we have the cosine of pi over 4 plus pi over 3. So I'm going to call this my A angle and this my B angle. And I'm going to use the cosine sum formula, which says take the cosine of the first angle, times it by the cosine of the second angle, and then subtract the sine of the first angle times the sine of the second angle. Okay, now this is the sum of cosine angle formulas. You can find it in any math textbook or probably Googleable really easily. Okay, so A is going to be pi over 4. So I'm going to find the cosine at pi over 4, times it by the cosine at pi over 3, and then subtract the product of the sine at this angle times the sine at that angle. So if you have your unit circle memorized, that's fantastic. If you have some other type of a chart that you can refer to, that is equally good. So if you go to that, the cosine at pi over 4 has a value of root 2 over 2. Okay, exact the x-coordinate from that point. And the cosine at pi over 3 is 1/2. Oh, that's not 1/2. Let me erase that. There you go. Now that's 1/2. There we go. Gracias. And the sine at pi over 4 is once again root 2 over 2. The y-coordinate there, and the sine at pi over 3 is root 3 over 2. So these are the x and the y values from each of these points on your unit circle. Okay, so now we just have to remember how to multiply together fractions. So we do top times top, and bottom times bottom, which is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus radical 2 times radical 3 is radical 6. You multiply underneath the radicals. And once again, 2 times 2 is 4. Now, because these have the same denominators, we can subtract the numerator and get a final non-satisfying mathematical answer of exactly root 2 minus root 6 over 4. Okay, and of course your calculator can tell you what that is approximately, but because we want exact, we're going to leave the answer like that. Okay, so that's a pretty nice thing. Now let's come up here and check this other one and see if the other one equals out. So the cosine at pi over 2, or rather pi over 4, was root 2 over 2. And the cosine at pi over 3 was 1/2. Now if I add these two things together, because they have the same denominator, root 2 plus 1 over 2 is the exact value from there. Now if we check these two things, you can clearly see that they are not in fact the same. So the distributive property does not apply to taking the cosine of angles. But that's how you find the exact value here.